In this video, you are going to learn about the Multicut tool and the various different ways you can use it to slice your model and add edges and vertices to it. To select the Multicut tool, you have to go to Mesh Tools, Multicut, or you can bind it to a hotkey. I have it bound to Control Q. So let's create a cube. So we have something to test our tool on. Set it to the bottom of the grid. So now when we have the Multicut tool selected, there are various different things you can do with it. You can double click on this icon here, which is the same as clicking the square next to the Multicut tool option in the mesh tools. So in the options you have various different stuff, and you can see the keyboard and mouse shortcuts here. That goes for many other tools as well. So different things you can do. Let's try this left mouse button instruction. So when you hover over the vertices around the mesh, you will see this string getting stretched. That only indicates from which vertex you are going to create a new one. So you can press anywhere on the mesh and it will add the edge by creating the shortest route to the place you clicked. That's one way to add edges or vertices. If you want something extremely specific, like for example something in case of something like this, you could if you're satisfied with the result, you can just press enter and it gets applied to the geometry. Or you can when you draw something, you can just right click and drag and that's it. It gets applied as well. So let's try the other options. So if you have the Multicut tool selected and press middle click and drag it across the mesh, it will slice the mesh from the point of projection that you were viewing the mesh from. In this case, it goes like this. It's sometimes useful in the orthogonal projection, but it's mostly used in these orthogonal projections from the sides, because you can draw a straight line by, again, dragging middle mouse button and holding shift. Shift snaps, as in other different graphic softwares like Photoshop and stuff. You shift snaps the line to a certain degree. In this case, this degree is decided by this snap step in the tools from the Multicut tool menu. So by holding shift and dragging a middle mouse button, you create straight lines. That's one of many ways to create straight lines on a mesh in Maya. So another one is holding control while dragging your mouse over the mesh, and you will see this indicator of where the edge loop is going to be inserted. While holding control, you can also hold shift and it will snap again by the amount indicated in this Multicut options snap step percentage. If you increase the percentage, the snap interval will increase as well. Same goes for decreasing. That's pretty useful. Also, you can just hold shift, and if you drag along the edge, you will see also the snapping of the vertex, but indicated by the numbers, and those numbers are also dependent on the snap step in the options. If you hold Control and press middle click, you will get a centered loop between your mouse and the closest edge. If you hold Shift and hover your mouse over any edge, it will prompt you to center a vertex when you click. So when you click, you get a vertex on the centered point of every edge that you hovered on. So if you agree to that selection, just press enter and you will see there's a vertex here. If you create a vertex, for example, with that shift and click option, before you press enter, you can also drag it around by holding the middle mouse button and snap it by holding the shift and dragging it around along the edge with the middle mouse button selected. So that's a pretty useful tool to cut your mesh. But if you're wondering how to cut the mesh with multiple edge loop tools that are defined by a strict number, you can, instead of going to the Multicut tool, use the tool called Insert Edge Loop tool, also in the Mesh tools. I have it bound to Ctrl E. So when you select the Edge Loop tool, you can go to Options, reset the options, and by default you have a relative distance to edge, which when you drag along the edge, you get the preview of where the loop will be. Which is similar to the Multicut tool. When you hold Control, here you don't have to hold Control, you simply drag. I'll have it selected, but a more useful thing is you can use the multiple edge loops and you get this number gets ungrayed out, and you can select the number of edge loops that you want, in this case 2. So when you press, you get 2, which you can drag. It snaps to the middle. 1 if you want if you only want one loop that's centered. You can also select up to 50, and by clicking on an edge you get perfectly centered loops. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from this video, and I guarantee you will be using this tool a lot in your modeling.